Hello everyone, welcome to E-Military. The war in Ukraine still continues to this day. 2 weeks after Russian forces streamed into neighboring Ukraine following months of buildup, evidence is mounting that the invasion has not gone to plan, and that Russia's much vaunted military may not be the formidable force once feared. Ukraine claimed on Thursday that in the 15-day-old war, Russia has lost over 12,000 soldiers as well as heavy weaponry, including 49 fighter jets, 81 helicopters, and 335 tanks. Sharing information on Russia's total combat losses from February 24th to March 10th, the Ukrainian General Staff claimed that over 12,000 Russian soldiers were killed, while 49 Russian Army aircraft, 81 helicopters, 335 tanks, 1,105 armored fighting vehicles, 123 artillery systems, 56 multiple launch rocket systems, and 29 anti-aircraft warfare systems were destroyed. In addition, Russian forces have lost 526 vehicles, 3 boats or cutters, 60 fuel tanks, in the last 15 days, said the General Staff. Images of destroyed Russian tanks and armored vehicles on social media have drawn attention to one particular weapon, the Javelin missile. The US and other NATO countries sent more than 17,000 anti-tank weapons, including Javelin missiles, overland to Ukraine via Poland and Romania in the span of less than a week this month, the New York Times reported. The Javelin has taken on a symbolic valence in pro-Ukraine online chatter. Former reporter Christian Boris created an image of a saint clutching a javelin and its launch unit. The image on stickers and other gear has raised more than $1 million. Boris said on Twitter, which he said will go to a humanitarian aid charity focused on Ukraine. As a convoy of Russian military vehicles creeping toward Kyiv captures global attention, the anti-tank missiles are in the spotlight. Weapons experts say the Javelin could prove particularly effective against Russian tanks, though they caution that the missile systems alone are unlikely to change the trajectory of the war. The Javelin is an anti-tank missile system that locks onto a target's thermal picture. The soldier peers through a command launch unit and selects different targets and attack types. When fired, the missile's launch motor thrusts it out of the tube before its primary motor turns on and sends the rocket flying. The gentler start reduces debris and smoke, making it harder for the enemy to see where it was launched. It makes use of what is known as a fire and forget system, which allows the soldier to take cover or load a new missile while the other one is tracking to its target. The system can fire day or night and has a relatively far range of up to 2.5 miles. While the Javelin can target any kind of vehicle that emits heat, it is most potent against tanks because it can strike from the top. This is why it's called a javelin, like the spear thrown in track and field events that falls to the earth at a steep angle. Javelins can also fire directly at a target if there is protection above it, and can be used against low-flying helicopters. So how could they help Ukraine fight Russian forces? The Javelin is probably the most sophisticated and most powerful anti-tank weapon, said Mark Kyiv, senior advisor for the International Security Program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. The Ukrainian military shared images of soldiers carrying the Javelin on Twitter on Friday, along with photos of destroyed tanks. The very information about the presence of Javelins in the weaponry of the Ukrainian armed forces causes panic among the Russian flag occupiers, the tweet said. Ukraine claims that Russia has lost 335 tanks and just over 1,100 armored combat vehicles in the fighting. But there isn't reliable data on how many Javelin missiles Ukraine has used in battle and to what effect, said Amiel Kotlarski, a senior analyst at Janes, an open-source defense intelligence agency. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry asked Ukrainians in a Facebook post Wednesday not to share information on the purchase of weapons from foreign partners. Experts say the Javelin is a powerful addition to Ukraine's existing arsenal of domestically produced anti-tank missiles. It's easy to train fighters to use them, Kyiv said, which is advantageous in Ukraine, where civilians have signed up for battle. The United States has trained Ukrainian forces in the past on how to operate the weapons. Javelins are particularly useful because the Russians seem to be road-bound, Kyiv added, which makes it easier for Ukrainian forces to set up ambush sites or strong launch points. There are few things even the most well-equipped militaries can do about javelins. Modern tanks are covered with reactive armor, which in some cases is packed with small amounts of explosives that will detonate an incoming warhead. The Javelin is designed to get past that armor. It uses a tandem warhead, which first either creates a channel into the reactive armor or blows it up, allowing the main warhead to slice right through and explode. Russian tanks are particularly vulnerable to the weapon, Kotlarsky said, because they were designed to be very small, squat and compact. A Javelin missile hitting the top of the tank usually means instant destruction, he said. There is some evidence the Russian military is wary of javelins, including photos showing metal canopies jury-rigged on top of tanks. There are two theories about what these are intended to do. The first is to shield the commander or the turret itself from drones that can either drop munitions or crash into them, kamikaze style. But there is also speculation the canopies are meant to blunt the Javelin's top-down attack, giving the tank and its crew a slightly better chance of survival. The design concept of Javelin missile is similar to that of slat armor, which US and other militaries have used to surround vehicles in steel cages to detonate rocket-propelled grenades prematurely. Social media has been littered with photos of destroyed Russian tanks with cages. The images have acquired a symbolic resonance so quickly that internet users have coined the term "cope cage," earning a page on the internet's primary meme directory. Others have suggested thermal attachments to the tank may be an attempt to complicate the missile's ability to focus on the target. A Telegram channel associated with pro-Russian forces also published instructions for Russian soldiers on how to use Javelin systems that they capture in Ukraine. So, what are the Javelin's limitations? The Javelin is not a silver bullet, said Kotlarsky from Janes. There is a prevailing narrative in the public mind to sort of lionize certain weapon systems as having a defining impact on certain conflicts, he said, but the reality is often more complex. Though potent, particularly in open areas where Russian military vehicles are lumbering toward Ukrainian cities, the Javelin does have some drawbacks. It has the disadvantage of all these kinds of anti-tank weapons, which is that they, the tanks, can shoot back at you and you just have people hiding behind a hill or a bush, Kyiv said. It's not like an armored vehicle where you have some protection. The weapon systems are also expensive and complicated to produce, with estimates of production costs ranging between $80,000 and $200,000 per missile, according to Kotlarsky. U.S. weapon makers have the capacity to produce a maximum of 6,500 Javelin missiles per year, according to the Army's estimates, though the existing contract caps production at 2,100. Washington officially delivered at least 77 launch units and 840 missiles by the end of January, while a Ukrainian news source claimed the actual total was 1,200 missiles and 150 launch units. The US and Estonia have delivered additional Javelins since, as recently as February 13.